What can governments do to really prioritize wetlands protection?
So, what's exciting is that this year, on the margins of our COP, we're going to be releasing another special edition of what we call the Global Wetlands Outlook. And this outlook is really, for lack of a better term, really our guiding document that tells us the story of wetlands around the world. We do have a scientific group of experts that come together as part of our science and technical review panel. And the science is critical because we are a scientific based institution. The science is absolutely critical, but also traditional knowledge systems are equally important to inform, what is actually happening and going on. So also in relation to technologies, many governments invest, particularly through some of their technical and technological spaces. For instance, we're working very closely with the European Space Agency, with NASA, et cetera. How do we see these wetlands from above? But from the ground up, we want governments to invest in what we call national wetland inventories. You cannot protect what you don't know. How many wetlands do you have? What is the extent? What species are dependent on? Is this wetland ecosystem the main water supply for your city? If it is your main water supply for your city, how much volume of water does it reserve, store, and supply for what community? So if there's more people coming into the city, how much should you buffer and make sure that you do not over abstract? How do you protect the system? What species are coming through? We're the convention that also, connects very well with waterfalls. So bird species migrate through wetland systems.
Yes.
So someone needs to undertake a survey in Austria for that bird species that will go all the way to our wonderful country of South Africa, all the way to the tip of Cape Town, because they migrate that far. But what is the state of wetlands in Austria and also the state of the wetlands all the way to the tip of Southern Africa? So this is very important. So this is why we're advocating for governments to really do these wetland inventories, because if we do not know the extent of our wetlands, we don't know how much investment we should also put in. We don't know what it is that we're supposed to be saving.
What role do countries like China or anyone else have to play in promoting a better future for wetlands around the world?
Well, I've been to Shenzhen and to Hong Kong as well in 2023. I mean, first, what I want to talk about is because, China is our current COP presidency and also the chair of our standing committee. One of the things I must say is that there is absolute importance in anchoring what is it that you're trying to protect in legislation. And China is the first country that had a whole wetland legislation put in place. Because if you don't anchor it that way, then it doesn't apply for all of society approach. And so, and that's why we see, young cities, because Shenzhen is a pretty young city, in terms of how it was designed, the way it was designed, and having the green infrastructure around it, and also in connection, because it's also part of a flyway.
Yeah.
So this is part of the East Asia Australasian flyway. So for instance, the black-faced spoonbill, which comes all the way from South Korea, comes right through Shenzhen, in the wetlands in the Shenzhen Bay, and also in Maipo in Hong Kong. And then they feed there and they have their summer home, etc., and all of that. So you begin to see that with this element of connectivity, you have to manage your wetlands for the collective. And then secondly, China is the one country with the most urban wetland cities, or what we call the wetland, accredited cities, which is amazing. They have demonstrated the power of sponge cities. They've also demonstrated why wetlands matter for greening of cities, especially in this time of warming cities. And that, for me, makes it incredibly exciting. So when we had the standing committee over a week ago, there were some cities that were accredited again in wetland. And so this demonstration of leadership to be able to show and the diversity of cities, cities in high elevation in mountain areas, cities in the lowland areas, cities in some dryland areas. This diversity of cities is also a demonstration to the world that this can be done.